There we go. And here are some pictures of the first exhibition in 2004 that was in person at the original Hera Gallery. These images are also on the website. So first up, we have Sophia Bakos.
Hi, I'm Sophia. Can you
Hi,
all
Sophia.
hi, can you all see and hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. I'm just gonna put my do not disturb on while I talk. Um, okay, so these are a couple of my pieces that were in the show. I think there were four in total. So these, yes, those are the other two. So these are all part of a body of work called Amateur. I started Amateur in 2020, I believe, and that was sort of following the end of my studies at Concordia University. I was studying painting, and to do the opposite, I wanted to do the opposite, so I started doing fiber. And it was sort of on the heels of experience a lot of sort of instances of assault in the clubs in Montreal and in just in my social life. So it started as sort of like a rage project and just a way to get my anger out for what I was experiencing, and I wasn't sure how to express it wholeheartedly. So I was making these dolls, which were sort of an embodiment of my person. I think one of the dolls is in the show on the other slide. So each piece in the entire series, there's about 20 more of these pieces that are like this. They use highly recognizable symbols of girlhood, like Hello Kitty, like baby dolls, calico critters, teddy bears, and those symbols are juxtaposed by embroidered profanity or references to Pornhub, references to bondage. And so this juxtaposition, it just means to point out the horrible absurdity of posturing young girls as objects of forbidden lust. Because when I was experiencing this anger and trauma when I was living in Montreal, I was also starting to reflect on how this experience sort of mirrored my experience in my later teen and early teen years. I'm 25 now, and when I started this project, I think I was 22. So right on that cusp of reflecting on what I was going through as a teenager versus what I am going through now. So yeah, it was all sort of a reaction to that. And then in the later stages of developing Amateur, which ended this January, I put it to a close this January, I started utilizing images of my closest friends and also as well as their poetry. And then at that point, the project became a lot less about rage, and it became a lot more about finding inspiration and resilience in the resilience of my closest friends and in women in my life and in women in general. So those are really my ultimate goals with this project, is to, number one, condemn and point out the sexualization of teenage girls in contemporary media and in everyday life. There's so many examples of that. We have the sexy schoolgirl trope. We've got youth being fetishized in media in general. And the secondary goal, as I mentioned before, is to create a space where women may find inspiration in each other's resilience. And yeah, that is my presentation of my pieces. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, Sophia. Next, we have Heidi Bruckner.
Hello, everybody. Good evening or good afternoon, depending on where you are. My name is Heidi, and I am primarily a portrait artist, mostly using that as a subject matter to address the idea that we're interested in observing others as a way of understanding ourselves. And a way of studying human nature and its relationship to storytelling. So the other aspect of my work is that I use a lot of recycled materials. So these portraits tend to be on, for a long time, I've been using pieced together bubble mailers, like from Amazon, as substrates. I'm also using recycled paper bags and upholstery fabric, that kind of thing. And the other thing that I've been experimenting with is pulling dimensionality into my flat 2D paintings. So with both of these pieces, the top part of it is, and the bottom part, the top part of it is probably about 2 inches of relief, and the bottom part similar at the very, very bottom where the wrinkles in the tabletop are. And then on the image on the right, the woman's pants are the dimensional part of the piece. And so these are both people both of these depict people that I have known in my life or encountered in my life. And they're part of an ongoing series that started approximately when COVID started, when we had a very limited kinds of social life. So I'll make it quick, and that's the end of what I'll say. Thanks.
Thank you, Heidi. Next, we have Becky Coleman.
Hello, I'm Becky, and I'm currently residing in Sarasota, Florida. And my work is often based on basically my own emotional experiences. My surrender was inspired by an anxious thought spiral one evening last year. And I think that we often imagine falling as a bad thing. And my brain would usually agree there are a lot of like bad things associated with falling, but we also fall in love. So falling isn't necessarily always bad. And this image of someone basically full of so much trust that they're falling, and they weren't scared of that experience, made me feel really compelled to paint this image. And even though I continue to experience anxiety on a regular basis, I dream about what it would be like to let go and trust that whatever happens next is for the best. I made this piece very large on purpose. It's a 48 by 60. So it takes up a very large portion of the wall, and it feels very dreamlike in a way, so that you feel like you are falling into that experience. It's made, it's on canvas, and it's an oil painting. And it just represents a lot of those emotional experiences, the stories that I tell through my artwork. I use landscape and figures often to represent my ideas and my experiences in the world as a female artist.
Thank you, Becky. Next, we have Joanne DeMonico.
Hello, this is Joanne. I don't see myself on there. Can you see me?
We can see you.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So my work has always been portraits of women, and I've studied a lot about the goddess archetypes and was doing a lot of work to try to incorporate that into my portraits. And then in 2019 and 2020, I volunteered for the Elizabeth Warren for President campaign. And when she dropped out of the race right around the same time that COVID hit, I decided that I wanted to find a better way to contribute. And I thought about, how can I use my art to contribute to the greater good somehow, and to help to raise awareness and understanding of the issues and the things that are important in impacting people in our society and around the world. So I started with the themes that were most important to me, like women's issues, immigration, Black Lives Matter, and climate change. And I started doing these large scale drawings around different issues. And the first issues that I tackled were all really emotional. Like in the women's series, I did a big piece on homelessness and domestic abuse and sexual trafficking. I did issues in the immigration series on like the refugee crisis. And of course, in 2020, Black Lives Matter was a big issue with George Floyd and all of that. And so after a couple of years of doing these large scale pieces that were very political and very emotional, I decided that I wanted to do something that was a little bit more empowering. So right around the time that the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, my sister and I went to a Bands Off Our Bodies protest, and I thought, this is sort of a more empowering and proactive way to sort of portray what was going on with women in crisis at that time. So that was how this work came about. And seeing all the women out there at this big protest with the variety of signs and the amount of passion that they had about it and the amount of energy around it, I thought that would be a good way to show how women were mobilizing and addressing, what is still a big crisis with our reproductive rights. So that's all.
That's all. Thank you, Joanne. Next we have Penny Fien.
Hi, I'm Penny Fine, and I am in Redondo Beach, California. And I guess I better put my video on. Okay, there I am. This actually started out with just playing around with image transfers and a gel plate, actually during COVID. And so I started looking through magazines, and the first one I did was the Alice Neal that you see here. And I actually had heard of her, but to be honest, I didn't know a lot about her. So it's very interesting to learn about her as a maverick who was insistent on doing representational work, even though it was considered to not be the thing to do, not to mention that she was bucking against the extremely macho abstract expressionists during that time. So this one was made from the Alice Neal was made from various different things, including trash. And this is actually the window is my library card. The trash from my library card. And when I put this together, I wanted to put it together in a very sort of casual kind of way to show this sort of, her personality seemed very sort of carefree in a way, and just kind of, she just did what she had to do. The background is from my favorite vintage book, which is called The Girl Today, The Woman Tomorrow. And it was published in the 30s and by Girls School. And it's got everything, every stereotype about women you could possibly imagine from that time period. From here, I decided, well, this is fun. So I started looking for more research on female artists, and someone had given me a 1970 copy of Jansen, the Jansen art history book, that is basically the book that everybody who goes to art school uses. And I could not find one woman in it, not one. Not even Mary Cassatt, not Frida Kahlo. So I decided that I was going to pay homage to women artists who had been left on the margins. So this all became a series called Other Female Artists Left on the Margins. And the one that best exemplifies that is the one on the right, which is the index page that would have Frida Kahlo, had she been in the book, right there underneath Kandinsky. No, before Kandinsky, yeah. So I wrote her in, and then I researched all the other artists that did not get recognized in their lifetimes that should have been on that page. So I think it's like I through L, something like that. And then there's just various different things that have to do with Frida. So that's basically it.
Thank you, Penny.
Sure.
Next we have Jean Glanville.
Hello,
Hi, Jean.
I'm Jean. Don't know. I can't see the artwork. I don't know if I'm doing the zoom in correctly, but I can't see the artwork. Anyhow, I'm Jean. I was lucky enough to be a portrait photographer for over 30 years, mostly with men. And I took just about every job I could take, usually with men, as assistants, worked my way up to having my own business. And it wasn't easy. Plus I was raising a family. But this image is just a picture which I was always the photographer in the family. So if there was a family reunion, I was, it was my duty to take it. And so I took lots of portraits, but I always like to take ones with a little twist. So I took one of a relative that rolled in from California, and he was just completely dressed opposite of the 4th of July attire that was at most of the family reunion at the picnic. And I just seized the moment and took the photograph. I see that it's not really what the theme is, but I figure as a female photographer who's been in the business for 30 years, I worked hard in this business. There was a lot of galleries I didn't get in. There was a lot I did get in. And I'm just happy to see all the women here, all the women artists that are coming out, and especially your gallery to showcase the women coming up and coming out, especially women photographers, which is it's very difficult to get in some of the galleries. So I say, life is full of fleeting moments. It's important not to let them pass by unnoticed. Always shoot what you love and hone your skills and focus on that. Never give up, and you might end up in the Hera Gallery someday. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Next we have Deborah Hirschfield.
Hello, me. My artwork for the past several years has been a reaction to current events. So lots of fetuses, pregnant torsos, and guns. Fetus Besieged was the title of a drawing I did in my 20s after I had an elective abortion at 19, which was illegal at the time. A back alley abortion with a doctor in a secret location, to which my father, also a doctor, accompanied me and paid $600 cash. I fainted later that night and it was never spoken of again. I can't imagine what my life would have become had I been forced to give birth at that age, which for me was the beginning of my serious pursuit of the arts. This work, made from a scarf of the US flag, is overlaid with comments made by the same people who shame women for being women. And the comments are on the back of the piece. Comments such as Canadian Judge Robin Camp, who, while questioning another 19-year-old woman about her rape, said, "Why couldn't you just keep your knees together?" The current Supreme Court, as we've seen in caricatured memes, is a mostly kangaroo court, stuffed with religious nationalists and primitive hypocrites, motivated by power and personal gain, who would rather establish a society where women are subjugated under their control, and control equals power. So my message is, let's continue to fight for the control of our own bodies, for our civil rights, to choose how we live our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Next, we have Eileen Hoffman.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I'm really pleased to be in this exhibition. I am a textile sculptor and I live in Brooklyn, New York, and I make wall pieces and installations. And I'm interested in making the undervalued and unseen culture of women's lives visible. So, and I have a really long connection to textiles. So, and a deep appreciation for all the skill and the time and the love that women put into that work. So, and so my work is grounded in that. And I'm really fascinated with the emotions and the stories that I think get woven into the work through your hands. And I want to tell those stories. So, and currently my work is Duralar. It's a clear archival vinyl that I paint and sew into, and that's what the piece is made of. And I really like that material because it takes the paint well, and it has a lot of possibilities for what I'm trying to do with invisibility and the invisibility around sexism. So this piece, and Now We Are Mommies, is a reaction to the Roe versus Wade 2022 reversal on US abortion rights. Like everybody, I'm furious about it. And the piece I was doing before this was called When We Were Princesses. And that was all of the ink drawings that we do as that young girls do. We draw princesses and women we thought we were supposed to be. And they have morphed into and now we're mommies. So I put them in they're put into the pocketbooks, and to me they're kind of placed or trapped in these symbolic pocketbooks. And the diamonds refer to potholders, and the patterns on them is part of my iconography and most of my work. So the writing in all of this work is a quote from Ruth Bader Ginsburg about abortion that I really like. And I chose this quote because Ruth Bader Ginsburg and my mother are both Columbia Law School alumni. My mother is actually older than her. And they were both colleagues. They were colleagues at Rutgers Law School during Ruth's landmark case on the basis of sex. So I wanted to honor that personal commitment. And I have, since this quote started in this work, and it's in a lot of my current work. And part of the writing in my work is meant to be not easy to read because of the invisibility of sexism. It's part of that. I thought I would just close by reading this quote. It's not long. Abortion is something central to a woman's life, to her dignity. It's a decision that she must make for herself. And when government controls that decision for her, she's being treated as less than a fully adult human responsible for her own choices. So thank you. This is an important exhibition. I'm really pleased to be in it.
Thank you, Eileen.
Yeah.
Next we have Amy Labossiere.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Amy. I live in Hartford, Connecticut. I'm a mixed media artist, and I'm really, really honored to be among such amazing women and powerful artists. So thank you. This piece for me began as a meditation. When I was a kid, I used to find a lot of peace and solace in the pool. And I have really good memories of that. And I was quite often alone. So in a sense, this very tactile piece is aspirational for me, because what I'm experiencing when I experience Pool Party, the sequel, is a sense of togetherness, but yet also deep, deep personal contentment, a sense of joy and purpose. I feel exhilaration and I feel freedom. My art is quite often a path of healing for myself. And so for this, it's about finding joy no matter what's going on the surface, the deep contentment and acceptance. And the irony of all of this, because I love swimming pools and I love being in a swimming pool. I don't have my own, but I was at the gym last week and I was getting in the pool and my pinky got caught and I broke my hand. So as much as I can have something that is such a source of joy, it's also a source of pain. And here comes another opportunity to accept life on life's terms and embrace what's right in front of me and be grateful that I have this little claw portion so that I can work a little bit here. So thank you. I really look forward to hearing the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Amy. Next, we have Diane Messenger with a series of paintings.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, good. I'm Diane Messinger. I live in Truro, Massachusetts for 25 years, formerly from Philadelphia. And I'm so thrilled to be in this special exhibit. And so much of what many of you have said has resonated with me, especially those of us who were born when abortions were illegal and had illegal abortions. I just thank you for mentioning that, but I'm so moved by what many of you and I have gone through. So I'll get to my paintings. My paintings are large. The largest one in this series of 4 paintings is 7 by 10 feet. They're all on paper. I love working on paper because I often expand the image and I paste on more paper. I start out with a figure, I draw them on, and then I start filling them in, and they all start nude, and as one friend said, and then you dress them up. Sometimes I'm wondering if the Barbie dolls are returning. But so I like a conversation. I like a lot of my figures doing different things and talking to one another. I change it a lot as I paint. I might paint out a face. I might turn the head around. I might wipe out hands or feet. I'm continually changing what's going on. I love the freedom of being able to do whatever I want to do. My studio is my safe place, and I'm sure you all feel it's the one place I can totally be myself. I play opera music, and that inspires me a lot. I love the different sounds and the different things that go on in operas at the same time. I'm fortunate that the unconscious comes through in my unconscious emotions are revealed through my work. I usually don't know what they mean until later, and I'm quite surprised sometimes by what I've exposed about myself. I do love what other people bring to my work and how they interpret it, because they bring their history. The viewer brings their history to my work. And as you can see, there's a gamut of emotions, anywhere from love and loss, despair, hate, hurt, anger, and fear, etc. Most of my figures are women, but there are a few men here and there. I think there might be one in one of these paintings. But stepping back, I feel I am painting variations of myself. And the more I paint, the more I learn about myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Linda Pott. Linda, are you here?
Yes. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I'm Linda Pop, and I live in Hampstead, Maryland, and I describe myself as a narrative found object assemblage sculptor, which means I tell stories with stuff. And these two pieces are from my relationship with Time series. The one on the right, A Girl I Used to Know, the base of that is actually a child's ironing board. And if you look closely, right above the iron, there's a picture of me. I think I'm about 4, just smiling away and ironing. And when I saw that, I was like, what the heck? I can't even remember the last time I ironed something. And when I did, I'm sure I wasn't smiling. But in that piece, I thought about how the activities and dreams of young girls has changed so much, even in my lifetime, because of the opportunities that have changed. Thank goodness. You know, back in the day, young girls thought about being their mom or a skater or a ballerina or a nurse or a teacher, and that was about it. But now, I think inspired by Kamala Harris becoming vice president, I just was like, whoa, opportunities are vast. Girls thinking of their future self can think of anything. So I wanted to sort of reminisce about a time when that wasn't the case. Mature women could perhaps reminisce with me, and younger women could perhaps be educated by some of the objects, like they don't even know what some of them are, and reflect on how the opportunities have changed for women, just even in my lifetime. This piece, Ain't Like I'm a Woman Got No Place to Go, is really kind of like where I am now, in that I am a woman of a certain age and sometimes we are invisible. And I'm trying to say, no, no, no. I still have places to go, people to see, things to do. Don't count me out. And I get the sense of that from all the women in this show, that we're very active, very involved, and we still have things to say and things to do. I'm very thankful to be in this show.
Thank you, Linda. And next we have Lo Sor.
Hi, my name is Lo Sor, and I am a Filipino-American ceramic artist located in the Washington, D.C. area. My flower vase is part of a body of work in which I explore my relationship and society's relationship with cute aesthetics. It is in part inspired by the Japanese and Korean stationery I had as a child. In this body of work, I was creating cute objects as a source of comfort. I wanted to surround myself with cute things to make my life a little softer while navigating challenges in adulthood. It made me question why American society infantilizes cuteness, especially when I'm utilizing cute aesthetics to tackle very serious issues such as grief and mental health. I wanted to create something that had cute elements, but demanded to be taken seriously, which I achieved by utilizing the highest level of craft I possessed at the time of making this piece. The flowers on the vase are the same flowers I drew all over my notebooks in childhood. Back then, I never could have imagined those same flowers would be part of an art piece featured in a gallery. So from the bottom of my heart, I wish to thank Sonia and Hera Gallery. Thank you.
Thank you, Lo. Next we have Martha Wakefield with a series of collages.
Sorry, my cat needed attention. Anyways, it's an honor to be here, and this is such a powerful night. I love it, listening to everybody and seeing their work. So anyways, this is work that is décollage, French term, which, pardon my French, but I was introduced to this process by Brenton Hamilton up at Maine Media. And I thought it was really appropriate for what I wanted to say about what is going on with women's rights in this country. So décollage is different from collage, is because in collage, you're building up the composition, where in décollage, there's a lot of construction going on. So I gathered a lot of images from magazines, newspapers, and on the web, dealing with sexual harassment,
Adam and Eve, Me Too, and of course, abortion rights and so on. And even from food magazines, because I really wanted to incorporate the apple there. And then I would work with just 2 colors, which was tints of phthalo green and quinacridone red, because I wanted the final product to be in a pink, which I think is powerful, but you know, it's not the Barbie pink, but it was done before the Barbie movie, which I have to say I really enjoyed. So anyways, it's you glue down the images and then you peel them off and then you build up images and then you deconstruct them by ripping, tearing, or sanding and so on. So at times you get happy accidents and other times you know, you're never quite sure what you're going to get. And I would layer the paint on these and felt that I could make a strong statement of what's happening to us in this ungodly era. And decollage is a fascinating process. I really recommend it if you like to do collage and you like to deconstruct, which I do. And some artists you can look at would be Mark Bradford, the LA-based artist, Michael Viviani, a French artist, and Brian Dittmar, who is a American artist who does 3D decollage. So thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Next, we have Wanling Su.
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah. Yes. Hi.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me? Is there any noise?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for having me. So yeah, I'm Wanling Shu. So this a series of my artwork I made in 2019. So before the COVID-19, and it's called the sensitive fragments. So I picked a lot of plant fragments from London to Cambridge, more than 140 kinds of plants. So I select these plants and to make them to like these different pieces. So actually it's kind of like it's a meditation. So the process of making this it's a meditation for myself. It's the inner world of my spiritual world. Yes, and so all of these pieces are made by the eco textiles, and it's also the degradable. So I mix different materials into this and use the technique like embroidery, stitch, and quilting, and some other skills into that. And because it's degradable, so it's changing right now, the color and the shape too. So it's the phone of the photography. So yeah, it's I think you can record of that time, yes. So actually I think it's also like the textile is a kind of way to also like painting can capture the feeling and sense and your story and in your friend. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next, we have Cynthia Zeman.
Hi, I'm Cynthia, and I want to say thank you everyone for sharing your work. This has been really fascinating, and I'm honored to be in this show. I did a series of paintings because I was thinking about when their children sort of wake up to the larger world. And I thought one of those inflection points was when you learn how to read. And so I went back through some primers that I used when I was learning how to read, like Dick and Jane and Tip and Mitten, and picked out these images of girls who are looking, because I wanted them to be looking at the state of the world now, to get that sense that their world was opening up. And basically, as all your stories have said tonight, it's not as nice as it should be. Our things aren't going as well as they should be. And I just wanted to sort of capture that moment of like both sort of a broader sense of the world, but also like an oh no. So I ended up doing a series of these books of these girls, and looking at different things. This girl's looking at a crack in the earth. Another girl is looking at a hair ribbon, and just kind of questioning what to do going forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Cynthia. And next we have Zelda Zinn.
Hi there.
Hi, Zelda.
Hi. So last but not least, I assume I'm last. I don't know. I usually am.
Almost.
Oh, maybe not. Okay. So I'm a mixed media artist and I live in Brooklyn, New York, and the color's really off on these photos, but that's okay. They have to do with going to the Arctic and imagining really what it was like for the people left at home, who were the women really, thinking about people going off and not knowing if they were ever going to see their loved ones again. And it was a way of kind of combining the domestic with this really incredibly wild landscape. So I'll just keep it really short and stop there.
Thank you, Zelda. So we are almost at the end. I have two artists we're going to circle back to because their slides were skipped. I think I was clicking too fast. So right, almost all the way back to the beginning with Elizabeth Barrickfall.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm really excited and honored to be part of this show. One of the things I think has been interesting about listening to this talk is how I think we've got a pretty good variety of ages and some different cultural backgrounds, but I still feel like there's something that everybody has in common with every single thing that we have looked at tonight, which I think is great. This work I made in recognition of kind of the domestic legacy that I was given by my grandmother, the kind of invisible life that she led, that was never really appreciated or recognized, even though her whole life was devoted to working really, really hard to create a beautiful home for her family. And I made these pieces out of belongings from her home. When my aunt passed away a few years ago, she lived with my grandparents her whole life, and I inherited just like boxes and boxes of this stuff that they never got rid of, you know, because you had to utilize everything and keep everything in case you needed it. So the piece on the right, which is titled Tools of the Trade, I did first as a site-specific installation. It was in a bookcase. So after that show was over, I rebuilt it in this house-shaped bookcase with this giant woman made out of all of these things that, you know, my grandmother used to take care of her home. The piece on the left is titled Antonina, Antoinette, Nancy. Those are portraits of my grandmother. Her name was Antonina originally at birth. She was an Italian immigrant and came here as a young girl. And, you know, as was the custom to try to assimilate, names were changed, and she first became Antoinette, and then somehow that transformed into Nancy. So I just found it really moving to sort of make this tribute to her and her life and all the things that she contributed and all the challenges that she had as a woman who had no other choice but to be in the realm of the domestic life. And I appreciate what she did, because now I've been able to do that and be out in the world in a completely different way, and experience more than she could have ever imagined. So that's what this work's about.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And now we're gonna skip back one more time. Here we go. Oop, not this one, to Luba Shapiro.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Sonia. It's been just fascinating and such a joyful experience to listen to everyone's stories, really inspiring. So these two pieces are part of my latest body of work, which is entitled Lament and Renewal, Restructuring the Heart, Reviving the Self. And the overarching theme of all my work throughout the years has sort of been the nurturing and care. I often think of women's experiences sort of near and far, and how regardless of our circumstances, have to continue to give birth, care, whether it's peace or war, whether we have a home or don't. And so I often think about it. This particular body of work is and sort of really influenced by my personal experiences of loss over the last, just recently, and also being a caregiver and seeing people close to me that I'm caring for, suffering and pain, which is challenging for anyone. I'm sure, unfortunately, many of us have been in this situation, and so kind of that empathy that you feel in these circumstances automatically again expands kind of globally to overall kind of a global experience and empathy of to people and overall human condition, so to speak, and specifically again women. How do we cope with these things? And I love to draw as an artist. I've always loved to draw, but I also love mixed media, and I love sewing and putting things together. So I often draw these pieces that they're often portraits and figures myself or people I'm caring for, or just kind of a representation of sort of an inner overall structure of a person, an idea. And then I like to take them apart and rip them and put them back together, sort of with an idea of kind of how do we cope with these challenging things in our lives, and kind of restructuring myself and trying to hold it all together, so to speak. And again, thinking of these experiences near and far. And so I use found fibers and fabrics that I collect and find, but also pieces of clothing that have been worn by people I know or myself. And I also love, I also include wooden pieces in my work, a lot of wooden pieces I find. I love to go for a walk after like a storm and find these parts of trees that have been broken off and just pick them up. It almost, for some reason, feels to me like they're limbs that trees lose. And there's a sense of kind of like violence that's been done in nature, and then using these, I almost think of them as like relics and paying homage to nature and ecology in my work, which is also important to me. And it kind of brings everything back together, almost like in a circle of life. And nature often reflects, this process of, again, destruction and rebirth and growth. And also, we've been mistreating nature quite a bit. And so kind of forgetting and disowning it in so many ways, as often we do to human beings, again, close and far. So anyways, all this sort of comes together in a sort of a circle of life. So thank you so much, everyone. And thanks, Sonia, for bringing me in.
Thanks, Luba. So now I think we've gone through everyone, and Cynthia Farnell is here to just say a few thoughts, and then we can open a quick Q&A. Oh, I think you're muted, Cynthia.
Hey everyone. I'm Cynthia Farnell, and I currently live in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm at the Welch School Gallery at Georgia State University as the gallery director. And I'm also an artist. And I really started my career at Hera Gallery. And I think that this program that you have going, Sonia, is really great in that it extends the educational mission of Hera into the digital space. And it's just one more way that Hera has always nurtured artists. It's amazing over the years. And I also wanted to extend my condolences for the loss of Alexandra Brockus, who was one of the original members of, or one of the founding members of Hera Gallery. And she was my good friend, very good friend, dear friend. And she was also my mentor. So it's really interesting to see this work going on, continuing on into, let's see, when was that exhibition, Girl Art Now? Was that 2001?
2004.
2004, okay. Yeah, so that was a long time ago, and I was really just starting out my career as a curator, and that was one of my very first like big shows with a big idea. And it wasn't perfect, but it was really an exciting opportunity that I had that helped me develop my aesthetic and my conceptual interest as an artist. So it's so great to see everyone's work, and I'm amazed at the stories. I think that things like this are so important for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. So for our Q&A, you can just unmute yourself, and we have some time to talk.
I have a question for Joanne. I was just curious about the signs in the background, if they were signs that you saw that day, or if they were things that you looked up or anything like that.
Yes, those were some of the signs that I saw, and there were actually a lot more. I couldn't even fit everything. When I first started this originally, I was going to do this big gigantic piece that would have, probably taken up my whole studio. But then I decided just to scale it down a little bit. But yeah, those were all signs that I saw, and they were just so many people of just every different age out there, and there were men out there, old men, young men, which was really cool to see. And it was one of those organized marches that, everyone was marching in different cities on the same day. And I went to the closest one to me was in Attleboro, and we were just on the sidewalk in front of the courthouse or something, and everyone driving by was just so supportive and blowing the horns, and it was just a really, really cool experience. And it made me feel good to do something like this after all the work that I had been doing that had been about, trauma and bad things that were happening to people. And I thought, this is something that shows that we can take it in our own hands and do something about it. So now I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for sharing. I feel like you all are my tribe.
I love that.
Thank you.
I think this like also goes with Lo's piece. And I think, and this connects back to some of the controversial things that were brought up in doing this show, and the difference between the word girl and the word woman. And I was really drawn to recreating or revisiting this exhibition because of the difference between the word girl and the word woman, and how, girl is really towards like a prepubescent woman, young and innocent. but this idea of cuteness, and when we call each other girl, it like degenderizes it, but also takes this huge weight away from it, that a girl can be a woman who can be fun and flirty. Or I always think of the quote, or since the show, I've been thinking of the quote from the movie 13 going on 30, flirty and thriving. This fun person who doesn't have the weight of responsibilities that comes with the term woman. And when we put out this call for art, there was a great article in, I believe it was the New York Times, about the word girl and how it can be used so interchangeably, and it can be such an inclusive word, which is just so ironic that so many people felt the opposite, which is also exciting and stirring up some dialogue.
I just wanted to say I'm just so touched by so many personal stories that all of you have shared, and it's just been very powerful. I mean, I feel so moved. I can't imagine going back to my regular life right now, but thank you so much for being so brave. I think it takes so much courage. And just quickly in relation to the words, I actually came from Russia, originally Soviet Russia, but a long time ago in 1988. And you know, I've never, when I came here, it was just very different being there. You know, being a girl there, it was just such a horrific experience. You know, just this constant, could never express anything like this, and this constant sense of oppression, just on a human level, but also the gender, but specifically as a girl, because I grew up there, you know, as a young girl, and I can, you know, it really resonates with me, that title, and so I'm really grateful. Thank you, Sonia, for putting this together. Great show. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Luba. And I also want to say, we were just talking at the gallery today between, you know, the personal and the political, and I think it's really important that these are all such crucial personal stories and experiences that we've all shared today, that, you know, some are very serious and some are a little more lighthearted, but that these stories are critical and our voices are critical. Do we have any other questions or comments?
Just thank you, Sonia, for this show and for gathering all these artists together. It's just been a powerful, inspiring night.
Did I hear
I
someone?
do have a,
Oh, go
I
ahead.
have a question. The artist who works on the bubble mailers, I'd like to know a little bit more about that, the process. What part of the, is it on bubble wrap itself, on the outside of the envelope? Heidi Bruckner.
Yes, thanks for the question. So these pieces in particular also have integrated, collaged into them existing paper and fabric elements. But underneath them are the mailers. Some of the prior work was just directly painted, completely painted on the mailers, and so parts of it would show through. But yeah, it's just basically taking one of those padded envelopes that you might get from mail ordering, and it, during the pandemic, you know, mail ordering kind of became a more way of life, and so all of this trash ended up kind of piling up. So I ended up basically just cutting them open and then piecing them, a bunch of them together. So it was this sort of soft, gushy surface that I sort of treated like a piece of fabric. So I've kind of folded the edges under like a seam, and then would paint directly on that. And so these are sort of a little bit developed later from that, but still have that substrate. So parts of it you would still see a presence of, on the surface, and parts of it, you know, is a little bit more covered up because there are other substances that have also been adhered to the surface.
Thank you. It's very cool. Thank you.
And there are
Yes.
some close-up images of these on our Instagram, so you can see the texture a little bit more. Any other last thoughts before we adjourn?
I mean, I'm just gonna say I'm just so pleased anytime I get to show with a group of women that are speaking up, and is very hopeful and keeps me going. So thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. Well, again, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. This talk is recorded, or most of it, since I forgot to turn on at the beginning, and it will be uploaded to our YouTube page and available on the virtual exhibition by the end of the day tomorrow. So you can share it from there. If you're local, we hope to see you this weekend for our 50th anniversary celebration. And if not, then we hope you just keep joining us in the virtual world. We love seeing you there. Thanks so much. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Sonia.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. This is great. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.